Hello, everyone. Welcome to another live stream. So I do believe today it's Thanksgiving in the US. So I don't think we're going to get as much activity as usual. But first, let's go over the news that has been happening in the last week. So if we look at these bottom circles, and of course, if anyone has any questions or chart requests, make sure to put them in the chat. We will go through every single one. But yeah, let's look at these bubbles. Basically, we had some euro news, which is not really that important. We had the FOMC minutes, which is pretty important, but not a lot of volatility came out of that. And then some euro news, and then we also had some dollar news, but nothing major. I'm not seeing any big reactions on let's say dollar news. Price is pretty stagnant, which is not great for us trend traders. It's kind of to be expected usually when the US has a holiday, it's going to be a bit of a slowdown in the markets. The US kind of dictates the whole world economy, and the financial center, in my opinion, is the main one is in the United States. Of course, there's one in London as well. If you look at Europe, but United States is the most powerful when it comes to financial markets. All of the money is located there, or most of the money is located in the US. That being said, we are going to start our technical analysis of the markets. One thing I can already see on the 1 hour chart is we had a gap. So we opened up with quite a big gap of 65.7 pips. Now that is pretty large. That is pretty significant. You're not going to see gaps this big very often, especially on the dollar pairs. You may see them on the JPY pairs, but the dollar pairs, they usually behave. They usually don't have large gaps. One thing I do know about gaps is they usually get filled either in the same week or in the upcoming, let's say, 3 to 4 weeks, right? So when a gap happens, usually this price gets filled, meaning filled like this, either in the same week or in the next 3 to 4 weeks, like a month, right? So has it been filled yet? No, not 100%. So if we put our cursor here, is where it started, here's where it ended. This is the gap area. And you can see a part of it has not been filled yet. So I do expect for us to go and retest that level. I do expect that will happen. Now, after analyzing the gap, let's jump onto the daily chart. So this is something I started doing for the live streams. I'm first going to give my bias for the daily chart, and then I will zoom in on the 1 hour chart. The daily is in a big downtrend still. So very, very nice, very strong downtrend, big bearish legs. I think it's looking very bearish. It's not flat, it's not stagnant. We are breaking the lows, printing a lot of momentum, a bit of bullish pressure here. Am I worried? No, not really. So the bias is for the price to go down. If I zoom in on the 1 hour, I do expect for the price to actually go down like this. Whoop. Like this. Okay. Zooming in, unfortunately, 1 hour is pretty flat, pretty corrective and range bound. It's just not doing anything. So I'm being more patient. We had an attempt of a push out, but again, we printed 4 wicks, rejected. So that was pretty bad. So this was pretty bad. Currently, I don't have this one on the watch list. I do expect more range-bound price action, especially for tomorrow, because I don't think much activity is going to happen. I am looking for just a large push up or a large push down, as always. That is what I'm looking for. Let's move on. Let's move on because, I mean, we could analyze this this impulse down or this downtrend, but again, we finished with a huge wick, an absolutely massive wick. That is a big, big warning sign. So it was not the best. It was not the best right there. You could have been looking for a reversal. I did forget to mention that entry. So if anyone was looking for a reversal trade, you could have spotted a bit of a descending channel. You could have placed a buy limit on this level. That is just a regular reversal setup. You would be tagged in and tagged out, so it would be a losing trade. Possibly some news. I think this was some news. Yeah, it was PMI news. Okay. But anyway, nothing that interesting on EU. EJ, so if we jump to EJ, EJ is looking not the best. Not the best right here, but let's start with the daily. The daily is actually starting a bit of bearish momentum. So as you can see, we're kind of stuck inside of this low and this high. Overall, we're just kind of bouncing around from the bottom of this range to the top. But if you're a trend trader on the 1 hour chart, you could be making some percentage in this move up, for example, and in this move down. So you could do that. That is definitely an option. But it's not as strong as EU, right? EU downtrend is much, much, much stronger right here. Okay. Whoop. EJ, if we zoom in, 1 hour price chart, it did break out of the range, but it could not be sustained. So pretty much we had a range, we broke out, and then we started another range. So range bound, not going on the watch list, and I will remain patient. What is this? Consumer confidence. Yeah, nothing major. Nothing major. I do believe we have NFP next week. Yeah, it should be NFP next week on the, let me see, which date is that? So NFP is gonna be on the 6th of December. Yeah, I think that should be NFP. NFP, we can get some volatility, so that should be interesting. Getting back to EJ, we had this downtrend, and I was looking for sell setups, possibly right here. I think this was the best point to look for sell setups. We had a nice established downtrend, but we just could not commit. We could not commit, so we just had double wicks, retrace, and then break of the low. No entries actually formed, nothing was high probability. We then continued trending down, ranged around, broke the low, and then went flat. Yeah, not the best. Let's move on. AU. So AU, starting with the daily chart, it's kind of the same story as the euro and the US dollar. So overall moving down. If you can spot a similarity, definitely seeing a lot of dollar strength on the daily chart. So if dollar goes up, which you can see on the dollar index, starting to be a little bit bearish. But basically, this was just pumping higher, showing a lot of dollar strength all the way to the upside. 1 hour, unfortunately, pretty flat, pretty range bound. We also had a gap, but this one was actually filled. So from the bottom to the top, around 40 pip, 40.2 pip gap, pretty large, pretty significant. But as you can see, the price got filled. So we have retested those levels. Yeah. Then we had a V reversal print right here, which is a bullish pattern, but unfortunately nothing came out of that. So we pretty much continued to be pretty flat and range bound for the rest of the week. This was on Monday. Okay. So currently pretty flat, range bound, and not that interesting. I think we can move on to AJ. So for AJ, starting with the daily, I'm definitely seeing some momentum. So definitely seeing some momentum on the Aussie and the Japanese yen. We were flat right here, flat and range bound, but then we broke out, showed some some decent momentum in this candle and this candle. So if this can continue down like this, I think that would be great. We were range bound for quite a while, so we were stuck inside of this range for quite some time. I think from, you could say, the 3rd of October. So it has been pretty flat. I would like to see this bearish drop continue down. That would be good. Okay, so if we zoom in, the 1 hour, is looking, it's in a downtrend. I was looking for sell setups, but unfortunately nothing really high probability formed. We had this descending, which I spotted last week. Usually after a descending channel, I want to see an impulse up. We never got that. Instead, price continued dropping down. Quite a lot of momentum here. And then we continued even more. I know some traders took a reversal setup here. So I know some people took a reversal setup here, but for me, it did not really fit the plan. The break was not big enough. I wanted to see a bigger break like this. Okay, that is what I wanted to see. So this was not good enough. You could have spotted possibly descending right here, a descending channel. We had one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 consecutive breaks of the low. That is good. That is a descending channel. But again, I want a big breakout for taking a reversal setup. I want to see a big breakout to the upside, and this is just far too small. So I need a much bigger one like this. How do you distinguish prior price action between the hourly chart and daily chart? What's the reason for doing that? Yeah, so Charles, I basically don't use the daily chart to make trading decisions. I just use it to make the streams more interesting, to be honest. So since you're trading the Zentum trading strategy, you could focus on just the 1 hour chart. That is completely enough. What I do for these live streams, I take a look at the daily to get a general bias and to just check out what has been happening on the larger time frames. But again, for my trading decisions, I only look at the 1 hour chart. Native says, can we please see your indicator settings? Yeah, sure. So I use this indicator GT high and low. And these are the settings. So if you want to take a screenshot of this, okay, this is all the same. This is all default. But I think this, I messed around with these numbers. So you can take a screenshot of this. And that is the indicator. It is the second version. It's the second version, which is, I think it's private, but this first version is the same thing. Okay, so this is the same thing. Yeah, no worries, Charles. So focus on the 1 hour chart. The daily, you don't need it. But yeah, so I didn't take a trade here. What I do like about AJ is that it is at least moving. When you compare it to, let's say, EJ, which is looking much more corrective, AJ is definitely moving somewhere. So it's producing trends. Currently correctively moving up. So not the best if you want to take trades, but at least it's moving. And it can pretty quickly clean up, print a large push up, look for buys, or push down and then look for sells. So it can clean up quite quickly. The most important part is that it is moving and that it is trending. Am I going to put it on the watch list? Not really. I'm not seeing any high probability patterns on the 1 hour chart. Nothing is really interesting for me on AJ in terms of like high probability patterns. And I'm not seeing like a really clean downtrend where I can look for a sell, a flag sell setup. So yeah, remaining patient. Pound US dollar. The daily is still in a downtrend, starting to see a bit of bullish momentum printing. So definitely starting to see a bit of bullish momentum printing in this candle. But overall move is down. So if I had to form a bias from the daily chart, it would be a bearish bias, and I would actually expect more downside for the pound and US dollar. Okay, I would expect that to happen. Possibly something like this. All depends how the next daily candle prints. If it prints like this, well, then the buyers are clearly winning. But right now it is pretty bearish. Zooming in 1 hour, this is where I actually look for entries. This is what I look at to make trading decisions. Were there any trades? Also, I forgot to go through AJ. Were there any trades I was looking at? Only the reversal. That was the only one. Pound US dollar. Oh, well, you had this sell-off right here at the end of the last week. You had some news as well. Retail sales. Okay. But basically, you had a bit of a sell-off, and potentially I would have liked to see a flag here, like a really flat one with a nice range. Yeah, that could be nice. But again, that did not happen. We got double wicks, and then we had a big gap when the market opened. Has this gap been filled yet? Yeah, it has. So this is the initial gap. And this is what I mean when I say that gaps get filled pretty quickly. So as you can see, price pretty quickly started going down and filled that gap. So that's about it. Then we became very range bound, very flat in this area, and then we had a breakout. So this was the breakout out of the range. Decent momentum, yes. Decent momentum. I like this candle, this one. This one is kind of meh. Is this some sort of news? Yeah, it is. It is. So this is probably a bit of a news reaction, you could say. And I would possibly be looking for buy setups, like a nice flag. But we had triple wicks on the top, so it just started to be very corrective. We just started to have very corrective price action. At that point, I was not really looking for a flag. I was not even looking for a timed entry. So if you guys don't know, on the Euro US dollar and on the pound US dollar, I do trade the flag. But if an entry forms between spread hours and 8 a.m., let's say in the morning London time, I do use a timed entry, which is a bit different than a flag. You enter at a different point, you could say. So if I entered this trade, it would be running some profit. I would have entered probably at the bottom of this candle, somewhere around here at this level. But again, this flag just did not fit the plan. It definitely did not fit the plan. I did not like this, how these triple wicks formed. If there were no triple wicks, so if these triple wicks did not exist, then I would be pretty happy to take a flag. Unfortunately, because of the triple wicks, I had to remain patient. Currently, am I seeing anything special? No, not really. Maybe this overall bullish momentum can continue up. So maybe we can see a continuation of these legs. We have a nice bullish print and then a nice flag, but currently nothing. So it's not really going to go on the watch list. Any other entries? No, we had this buy setup, which I covered in the last live stream. So that is about it for the pound. NJ. NJ, kind of a similar story to the Aussie and the Japanese yen. So if we go to AJ, kind of a similar story. We were pretty flat for quite some time and then we broke down. So let's see NJ. NJ has been ranging around and not really doing anything from the 27th of September. So from the 27th of September, we just had a flat range. We just had very flat price action. It was pretty tough to make percentage in this price action because for me on the 1 hour chart, I need this to happen. Or possibly this or this move. I remember taking a bit of percentage right here on the bottom on the 1 hour chart. I do remember that. That was a pretty nice setup. It was a super high probability setup actually. When was this? 17th September. So 9 17th. Yeah, it was here. Or no. Was it on AJ then? I'm not sure. Sorry, I just got a call. I don't remember quite where the trade was, but I just wanted to comment on the it's 2024 1 hour 2024. Here it is. It's here. So that is the reversal setup that I took at the bottom of that larger V on the daily. This one on the bottom. So right here, like this. Yeah, basically that is the trade. Back to the daily. So that was here in the bottom. Yeah, flat, and now we're breaking down. That's good. That's okay. I just want to see price moving up or moving down. That is good. The worst thing that price can do is be flat. That is the worst thing for me as a trend trader. I definitely don't like that. Now let's zoom in. How was the drop down? It was pretty corrective. It was kind of more as stock indices move. So moving in channel fashion, right? Kind of respecting the trend line, the lower trend line and the upper trend line as well. So I never got an opportunity to really get in on a sell setup. Yeah, never got the opportunity to get in on a sell setup. And now on the bottom, we just started descending quite aggressively. So we just started breaking the lows, retracing, break of the low, retrace, break of the low, break of the low, retrace, break the low, retrace. And then we break the high, retrace. So for me, not the best price action. This is a descending going into a flat range, which it's not great. It's not great, okay? Definitely not the best price action here on NJ. I'm not really going to put this one on the watch list. I'm going to remain patient. What I would like to see is for the overall trend or the overall movement to continue. So if we can continue down, that would be nice, okay? That about covers my 6 pairs that I trade live. I do want to cover 2 more Forex pairs, which I find interesting and that I'm currently testing. First one, Pound Aussie. Let's do FXCM data. How is the daily looking? Overall flat, but you can make some percentage in these movements. But overall, yes, it's flat. 1 hour, it's moving up. So Pound Aussie is trending up. Am I seeing any high probability price action right here? No, unfortunately not. But I'm seeing some movement. So if we can continue up, that would be good for potential buy setups. Yeah, I'm trying to get some more diversification. So I'm looking at different Forex pairs, looking at the ones that give me kind of the results, that make the results more consistent throughout the months. That is my aim. And pound Aussie is on my list, on my research list. This was a nice impulse, but yeah, just not seeing anything high probability. And the other one that is interesting to me is US dollar CAD. Why is it interesting? Well, because it adds the Canadian dollar, which I don't have anywhere. I don't have it as a part of a cross anywhere in my live trading. The daily is looking pretty healthy, but again, most dollar pairs are as the dollar keeps gaining strength. Zooming in, it's interesting. It's interesting you have this push up out of nowhere, and now, unfortunately, being range bound inside of the low and inside of the high. So I am remaining patient with I would remain patient with US dollar CAD. We came out of a flat range, but it is interesting that this impulse came kind of out of nowhere, right? Kind of came out of nowhere. It didn't print on other dollar pairs. I don't believe it printed. Did it? 25th of November. 25th of November. Yeah, not really. It's the CAD. That's range bound, not descending. Yeah, this is descending inside of the high and low, but because it is inside of a bigger structure, because my high is here and my low is there, I classify this as being kind of range bound. I need it to break the low or the high. I mean, if we break the low and then continue descending, yeah, that's good. That's good to look for a reversal setup. But when the price is just stuck inside of the low, the major low and the major high, then I just classify it as range bound and I remain patient. Okay. So yeah. I know it gets confusing. There's a lot of variables going around. The general rule is if the price is stuck, so yes, that's a good spot. This is descending. Definitely it's descending, but it's still inside of my major high and major low, so I cannot do anything. I must see the price break. Sorry about that. I must see the price break the low or break the high. Until it does, I just have to remain patient, okay? So that is how it generally works with the highs and lows. Yeah, I wanted to show you those two currencies. I wanted to check them out to see what is happening with them as well. Now I want to switch to the DXY, so the dollar index. Why is this important? Well, it is pretty important because I have three currency pairs that are connected with the DXY. So the DXY measures the strength of the US dollar, and if this thing continues going up, it could mean some very strong trends on the dollar pairs, which means we can make some percentage, okay? That is generally how it works. And it has been in a very, very steady uptrend. It's been moving really nicely, as you can see here, really, really nicely. Unfortunately, now we have seen three bearish prints. So 25th, 26th, and 27th were pretty bearish prints on the daily chart. That's not great. Now, this is a sign of weakness. So we could see some downside or a range bound price action zooming in. 1 hour. 1 hour is pretty corrective. 1 hour chart is pretty corrective. You kind of want to look at the daily chart to get a bias, to get a picture of what is happening. I think it's the best to look at the daily chart. So at this point, I wasn't really concerned. We were still pretty bullish. Then this one printed, not that concerned either, but now I'm pretty concerned now. So this has broken the structure, printed two big red candles. I don't think this is great. I think this is signaling actually potential dollar weakness. And the current daily candle is indecisive, which makes sense because it's a US holiday. So the volatility is going to be much lower than usually. Yeah, I wanted to cover the DXY. Next currency pair that is interesting is gonna be Bitcoin. So Bitcoin has been trending quite heavily. It has been in the news as well. So on the daily chart, just an explosion. We broke a major high, so we broke out of 73,000 and then had a big bull run, pull back a little bit, but then continued with the momentum. And right here on the top, you actually had Jim Cramer. I don't know if you guys are aware of who Jim Cramer is. He basically tells people what to buy, what to sell on television and maybe on social media. I'm not sure. So he mentioned that he's always wrong. He's always wrong. And he mentioned that Bitcoin is a good buy right here on the top. So right here, he made a post how Bitcoin is a good buy and then it dropped. So usually when he says something, the exact opposite is going to happen. There was even a indicator called reverse Kramer or something like that, which made a trade right after he made a prediction, but in the opposite direction. So when he told people to buy Bitcoin, it would actually sell Bitcoin. And apparently it was a pretty profitable strategy, just taking the opposite side of a trade when he made a prediction. So yeah, did he cause this? Of course he didn't. I mean, he's just one guy, but it's not good for Bitcoin to be in the news a lot and for like major TV personalities to be talking about Bitcoin. That is pretty bearish for Bitcoin. That means most people have kind of processed the information and made a decision if they want to buy, sell, or hold. And when there are no more buyers, well, then you start to get a meltdown. So I just wanted to mention that for Bitcoin, you do not want to see a lot of news coverage, a lot of, let's say, talks on the TV about Bitcoin, and a lot of like TV personalities talking about it. That's a pretty bearish sign. Will we reverse? So will this happen? Will we drop? No one really knows. I can tell you a technical perspective, and currently the buyers are winning. I would say the buyers are pretty healthy still. The sellers tried to push it down. You had this massive red candle. So you had a massive red candle, but it did not continue. Usually this is a warning sign, but then if I want to see conviction of the bearish pressure, if I want to see that the sellers are really confident, then the next candle is usually going to be pretty large and red as well, right? That kind of gives you a confirmation of selling pressure. That didn't happen. Instead, we pull back or just kind of indecisive and then a bullish one. For me, I'm still bullish on Bitcoin. Just by gauging the momentum, I do think we can test 100,000. It would not be that hard. How close did we get? We got pretty close. We got really, really close. What is the top here? 99.8. Whoa, that is really close. Anyway, so you could say we already hit 100K. A bit of a sell-off is kind of expected. So that's it for Bitcoin. I'm still bullish. Ethereum has been active. You had a bullish print, but I do believe it is still just breaking out of this range, right? How it usually works, if you're interested in crypto, Bitcoin starts a bullish trend. Bitcoin starts a big bullish market, and then usually Ethereum follows. And then you have all of the other altcoins such as Dogecoin, Chaincoin, or Chainlink, or whatever the name is, or Ripple. You have all of them following Bitcoin after possibly 1 week or maybe a couple of weeks. That is usually how it works. That is why you see Ethereum pumping after Bitcoin. But is it a big bullish scenario yet? I don't think so. Let me check out Bitcoin on the 1 hour. So on the 1 hour chart, Well, it was looking healthy at this point. This was looking pretty nice. Like I would be, if this was a Forex pair, if this was a currency pair, I would 100% be looking for buy setups here. Definitely 100% looking for buy setups at this point. But we got a retrace, a pretty significant retrace as well. See, pretty significant retrace. So that is not the best. Just by looking at the 1 hour, I do recommend looking at the daily for Bitcoin. Now let's do something a bit more interesting, or yeah, a bit more popular. That is the S&P. So S&P is pretty bullish. I think it has just broken this high. This is how S&P moves. It respects trend lines. It kind of moves in channel-like formations. So you have this channel right here. Okay. And I'm pretty bullish on the S&P. I already mentioned that Forex usually moves like this, a bit cleaner, but the S&P moves with pullbacks that are a bit deeper. So the pullbacks can be a bit deeper. That's why it gets a bit confusing. If you come from Forex to stocks and stock indices, you may view it as not as impulsive and you may have some trouble, but I think you can get used to it pretty quickly. So for me on the daily chart, this is still pretty bullish. I'm pretty bullish on US stocks, pretty bullish on the S&P, especially after Trump won as well. 1 hour, you can see that exact ascending channel here on the 1 hour chart. How to trade it? I personally don't trade it. I have tried with my Forex trading strategy to basically get in the market. Didn't work as well. I didn't make a lot of percentage, but if you have maybe a channel trading strategy, you buy the lows of the channel. So when the price hits this line, you buy. That could be a good play. That could be a profitable strategy. Nasdaq daily, not as strong as the S&P, so not as strong as the S&P, but getting there. So I mean, Nasdaq usually follows, as Ethereum follows Bitcoin, Nasdaq follows the S&P, and silver follows gold. That is usually how it goes. It is the general order. So yeah, Nas 100. I'm bullish because I'm bullish on the S&P. I'm bullish on the Nasdaq. It's all pretty similar, to be honest. Gold on the daily, kind of indecisive at these levels. I think I did my analysis here on Thursday. Was it on Thursday? Yeah. And now we had a V reversal, which in my book, it's a bullish pattern. You usually get an uptrend after a V reversal. But now we're getting a big bearish candle. We're getting a big red candle, which is a little bit problematic. If I had to give you a bias, I really couldn't. I don't really see who is winning in this area. So it's a bit tricky. Gold is a bit tricky. Starting to be flat here. Starting to have some flat price action. Not the best. Maybe we can look at, let's look at the weekly. Let's get back to the daily. Yeah, I was expecting more upside at this point. I was pretty bullish on gold because this was a pretty strong move. And again, we printed that V reversal, which is a bullish pattern. After seeing this candle, I'm a bit indecisive and a bit confused. It's not the best. So maybe silver can be more clear, give us a little bit more clarity on the metals. Nah, it's choppy. Silver is choppy. Usually gold looks better. prints better patterns, prints cleaner price action, prints cleaner patterns. I think that is the case. Here, definitely, silver is much more choppy than gold. It's kind of moving also in channel formations, you could say. So like this, channel formations. Now kind of in a descending channel. While gold, at least on the daily chart, it's a lot more impulsive. It's a lot more impulsive. We also have a nice flag here, like if this printed on Forex pairs. If this happened in Forex, I would definitely be looking for buy setups. This is absolutely perfect. Absolutely perfect. Also had a flag a bit higher. Yeah, this is another flag. It's a pretty good flag, looking pretty healthy. See right here, pretty healthy flag right there. You have the first high, first low, second high, second low. And again, if this printed in Forex, I would probably take it. So it just looks cleaner, it just looks better than silver. Let me see if there are any other setups in the price action. Flag right there. Yeah, that is about it. Now we're going back too much. Anyway, what do we have left? Well, pretty much US oil, which is choppy and it's flat right here. So it's not looking the best, not looking the healthiest. I don't like US oil. The chart is not clean at all. Super choppy. I like clean charts. So I tend to avoid even analyzing, even breaking down US oil. Yeah, not really worth it. It's just kind of doing nothing. The general rule is usually in a time of crisis, oil will become pretty volatile. You will see a lot of movement on oil during wars, especially, or any sort of a crisis. So I think a spike in volatility was in 21, I think. Basically, when in 22, when Russia attacked Ukraine. So there was a lot of volatility happening in oil. Okay. That kind of covers our general schedule for the live stream. So what is the summary? Well, the summary is that on my 1 hour chart, nothing is currently printing. No high probability setups. Everything is just kind of flat and range bound and stagnating. We are approaching the end of the year, so we will soon be in the month of December. Is December a slower month? No, actually, it's not. December can be pretty active. You can get some movement in December. I know I made quite good percentage in the December of 2023. I had a big reversal trade on the New Zealand Japanese yen. It was like a 10% winner, massive. So I would not be lazy. I would not skip out on trading December. You can get some nice trends. Usually you get some very good trends on the stock indices because the companies are being pumped up for the end of the year. You get a lot of money going into companies, and the companies get a lot of revenue as well because at the end of the year everyone is buying gifts, and you have Black Friday, you have Cyber Monday. So a lot of spending is being done in November and December. That means the revenue goes up of companies. That means possibly that the stock price of the companies goes up with the revenue. And that is also why the S&P tends to trend up at the end of the year. What about currencies? Currencies can definitely have some movement, as I just mentioned. So I do think it is pretty important to keep monitoring the charts, even though it is kind of the end of the year and you may be a bit lazy and the holidays are coming up. But I would say stick to the plan. I know I will. I have back tested quite a few like December months from last couple of years, and there were definitely some interesting opportunities in December for our trending entries on the 1 hour chart, even better than November. In November, I don't remember having any like large winners, but in December, I definitely had some nice trades. So that's about it. The current charts do not reflect what I just said. They are looking flat, but this can switch, this can change pretty quickly. Like we can get a trend. As I, as I mentioned, the daily chart is super bearish on the euro US dollar. So pretty quickly, we can get a drop, fill the gap, because it's very likely the gap will be filled, and then a sell setups, and then a sell setup, right? So that can happen pretty quickly and pretty easily. And that is about it. I would not lose hope as the markets are range bound. If you guys want to learn how to trade, definitely check out zentumtrading.com. I'm going to put it right here, the banner. And if you can help me out, definitely like this live stream. Am I going to do a live stream next week? Yes, most likely I will. It's probably going to be on a Thursday. So if you want to get updates on that, check out my Instagram account. It should be in the description of the live stream. You should find my Instagram account. All of the updates are on there. So yeah, that is about it. Thank you everyone for watching, and see you next time. Also, we have the Zentum Trading Meetup this weekend. I forgot to mention that on Saturday. Basically, I'll be flying over to London to attend the meetup. Griff will be there, Nico will be there, our Zentum traders will be there. We have some special guests as well. It should be pretty fun. So if you guys wanna join, it's free. You basically head to zentumtrading.com and you join our free Discord, and you will see more information about the meetup in our free Discord. Okay, so more information will be in our free Discord. You'll get the exact address and the exact time of the meetup. That being said, that's about it for all the news I have for you guys, and see you in the next live stream or in our free Discord.